Houston, we do have a problem in that we're not looking far enough west in Texas. And that's where Texas Space Coalition was born. We said, we think there's an opportunity. So we planted our flag in El Paso in September of 24 with the mission to bring space to West Texas. But we looked at the I-35 corridor and said, there's no way we're going to move the needle there. But out here in West Texas and starting in El Paso, we have an opportunity to really make an impact. We can impact the community. We've got just an unbelievable amount of research and brilliance that's coming out of UTEP and out of UTPB, UT Peruvian Basin, Midland College, Paso Community College, all of these great minds that are graduating.
Out west where the sun always beams bright, Midland skies keep the hustle in sight. BAM Consultants got the blueprint intact. For dreamers on the grind, they got your back. Championing dreams from the ground to supreme, providing that spark, igniting the team. Marketing flow strategies that glean. BAM in Midland, building your dream. They teach the-
Bam! All right, welcome to another show. We're going to talk about space today.
We are.
Yes, sir.
Happy to be here.
All right, Matt. I do appreciate you being here. Could you pronounce, how do you say your last name?
Van Parys.
Van Parys. Okay.
Just like the city.
There you go. Yeah, so you are a VP at Texas Space Coalition.
.org, yes.
.org. Okay, good deal. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got involved with space.
Sure. Well, I'm a 25-year Air Force veteran, and my very first assignment out of the gate was at Falcon Air Force Base, now Schriever Air Force Base, or Space Base.
Should have left the name alone.
You're right. Schriever was a great missileer, and so they pay homage, of course, to our Air Force history. But it was out there in Colorado Springs, about 13 miles east of Colorado Springs proper.
Yeah.
And it was out in the middle of nowhere. You drive east towards Kansas, and then you come over Blind, and then you start seeing all of the radomes, and you see this little patch of dirt that has become and is now grown out to be Schriever Air Force Base. Or Space Base.
Space Base. That's cool. That part's cool.
So that was my first jaunt into space. As a young lieutenant, I was at the 50th Space Wing, so briefing space to the wing commander. So the wing commander is responsible for many of our collection sites throughout the world. And in the early 90s, we were head to head with the Russians, and so it was an exciting time to be there. We're learning a lot at that time just about space and what space had to offer the community. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I walked across the street to a Space Warfare Center, which is where I was blessed to be a part of standing up the Air Force Space Support Teams. And what that was a ragtag group of varying different specialties. So anywhere from, I was an intelligence officer, we had pilots, we had space folks, we had engineers, officers and enlisted, and our job was to deploy out to the forward bases and to brief the commander on how to better utilize his or her space assets. So you think, well, what is there? Today we look and say, well, what could there possibly be to talk about? Well, back then, GPS was not being carried around in our pockets, wasn't something that we utilized on a daily basis. And in fact, we had two different signals. We had a civilian signal, and then we had a military signal as well, which was much more refined.
Right.
We've since moved past that now that we have so many satellites in the constellation that's not so much a concern anymore. But what that did was give me an opportunity to really appreciate the value of what those space assets could bring to the commander. As an example, we would sit in on the Master Air Attack Plan, which is the big plan that the commander has for executing bomb runs and executing a combat mission.
Yeah.
And so we would, as the space team, the space support team, we would roll in there, listen to the briefing, and let's say they're going to hit a target with at the time, a bunch of B-52s at noon. we'd say, well, you know, if you, or at midnight is probably more appropriate, as it would be a nighttime bombing.
Yeah.
We'd say, you know, if you move that 5 minutes to the left, we're going to have imaging birds over top at a little bit after midnight, and so we'll be able to give you near real-time battle damage assessment. Wow. So there was this coming of age for the Air Force and for all the services to understand that space was more than just GPS, but it was weather, and understanding how weather satellites could go over top of a target ahead of time and be able to tell our operators whether or not it was going to be cloudy or not, and that would help them indicate what type of targeting apparatus to use.
Yeah. Just, so there's a couple things there, right? So innovation comes really in a war manner, right? The exercise of war pushes the envelope, right? We know this. We've seen this, right? And then, that was just as you were talking, World War II, D-Day, when we had to go land on the beach literally by force and fight through. Well, they sent bombers first, right? And so they were having to go bomb through the clouds,
right?
Using their instruments at hand. Right. There's no internet connection,
right? The old Norton bomb sites.
Yeah, so just that right there was pure human, just eyes on sight. Yeah. Literally feet on the ground. And then to come all this way now and say, oh, wait, like you said, you have birds in the sky, right? You have eyes up there that can pierce, be at certain locations at certain times. And is it going to be a cloudy day? Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and understanding all of that, it absolutely played into how we've evolved as a fighting force, as we become, just as we civilians have become so dependent upon the use of these computers in our pockets, on how we get back and forth. If I'm going to downtown Midland from El Paso, I'm using my GPS to get there. Now, it's Texas, so it's not that hard to find. You just point in the general direction, but I think it's something that's absolutely applicable. It's really almost an over-reliance upon this that we're growing to love and appreciate.
It's like the new cars have, when you back up, the cameras.
Yeah, backup cameras, right?
Well, I have a 20-year-old daughter. When I was first teaching her to drive, well, the car she was using, of course, had a backup camera. So I was like, no. We're shutting that thing down. You're not looking at it. You need to use the
That's right.
Right? Learn to use the mirrors. Because if you ever have to drive something and it doesn't have that, or it breaks down, or, we're just, how are you going to get around? How are you going to reverse, right? You literally have to turn your head to see if something's there or not, right? So it was just, and I think it's we get comfortable to use it for things that not necessarily rank high on I need this to do a, better job or whatever, it's just, and so I think the military use of it though, I think that's why I think it pushes the innovation of it, right? Because maybe we can get it to do this. Maybe we can get it to do this. Oh, have we thought about? Oh, we can, and just keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this academy, certainly I can speak to the Air Force Academy and how the Force has really almost become hyper focused on STEM and the importance of science and technology, and we're really pushing our folks that are going through the service academies to take up the mantle, because it's recognized that's where we're today and that's where we're going to be tomorrow.
Right.
The adversary is absolutely a formidable one, and they're not on their haunches.
No.
They're absolutely leaning forward, and we need to continue to do the same.
Yeah. I think we got comfortable for a while.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that space is a great place that shows where we have really started to pick up the pace again now. Here we are getting ready to see Artemis 2 launch and to go up around the moon and to revisit that for the first time in 50 years. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And with that launch, we're going to have a whole bunch of kids that are 8th graders that are looking to the heavens saying, that could be me.
Yeah.
I could be going to the moon. I could be colonizing the moon or going on Mars after that.
Yeah.
And as long as we have innovators, you talked about innovation earlier, and we have innovators like Elon Musk and Bezos who are willing to put their money where their mouth is and to drive that innovation forward.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. SpaceX is a great case for what it takes to be successful.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we have SpaceX alone is launching more than every other country in the world combined.
That's wild.
And it's wild to include the U.S. and vanquished some of the old government heavies that we've been reliant upon. And it's not just ill of Boeing or Lockheed.
No.
My father-in-law was a Boeing employee for many years and worked in the program. And so I recognize and appreciate great work that they did.
Yeah.
But SpaceX folks have really taken it to the next level and are driving others to catch up. And that's exactly what it's almost like the space race. Again, we're doing it internal within the U.S. And I think it's to our betterment.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I love the healthy competition aspect.
Absolutely.
And then, speaking about, SpaceX and Elon as a case study, what can you not say about it? It's when SpaceX made it, right? You know the story.
I do.
They launched, crashed, launched, crashed.
Launched, crashed. And then it was on their fourth one out at Kwajalein, where it was the last one that he had. And it was not a perfect, it wasn't a perfect shell of a body either. They had problems when they were flying it over there. They forgot to loosen some of the air, and so it started to crumple the body. And so they had to crawl inside while in flight in the back of the jet to get there. So it's a great story about perseverance and grit and what it takes, the courage to say, you know what, we're just going to do it.
More time. Yeah, this is it. Scrap it. I have a picture on my screensaver. And it's after that fourth crash, it's Elon squatting down, debris everywhere, scraps, piles, right? A couple of guys on the side, they look like they're taking notes, but he's just sitting there just
surveying the wreckage.
And you can already tell, like, okay, how did this happen and how are we going to make it work? Which is amazing. So like any entrepreneur, any kind of business that you're going to go through those tough times, those hard times, right? Anything you're doing that's worth something, right? That you're building, and like, like what you're putting together. And I really want to get into that. You're on a mission, right? That's what it is, right? We're on a mission. You have a goal. And Elon's goal was, that's why I can't even call it a moonshot. It's way past that, get humanity on Mars, right? That's a huge, huge goal, right?
Sure.
For him to say that, oh, well, no, that's enough. We're going to quit. That wasn't in his lexicon, at that, because his goal was so massive.
Yeah, it's his passion. That's for certain.
Yeah. So let's tell me about Texas Space Coalition.
Okay. Texas Space Coalition is a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit. We're headquartered in El Paso. We planted our flag there back in September of 24. So we're not even 2 years old yet. And what brought us there, and let me give you the backstory to what brought us there,
Please,
and that'll kind of better showcase why we're here now and what we're doing. So my partner and I have another company, a for-profit company, innovation that we started back in May of 24. And that was after, there's three of us that started that company, and what it was after all three of us, similar career paths, 25 years in the Air Force, did some national lab time, and so got to continue to give back and really appreciate the value of what our labs and what industry was providing the government. And at one point, we just kind of looked around and said, we may be able to do this better.
Yeah.
And so we started a government services contracting business at point. Note for all of our entrepreneurs out there, that was the wrong time to start a government services contracting business, because if you're familiar with the calendar, you'll know that was right before Doge hit and right before the government shutdown. the longest government shutdown in history. And so the wrong time to be dependent upon Uncle Sugar to bring in any sort of income. But you talk about perseverance. We certainly had an opportunity to persevere and to work through that. Still going strong. We're able to together some enough work to keep the business as we waited out the storm. But one of the things we were doing with Aimpoint was a relationship that we had with the University of Texas, El Paso, and specifically the aerospace center there. Dr. Welsh is just a phenomenal partner of ours, and we were working with UTEP doing some small business innovation research grants, SIBRs and SITRs, which are opportunities that the government puts aside, earmarks money for technological development. And what the idea there is to encourage small businesses to innovate, to generate those ideas. They post what their goals are, the requirements are, and then the expectation is that many small businesses will put forth packages to say, hey, we can do that for this amount, and give us a shot. And so we partnered with, our business plan was a little bit different, that we partnered with UTEP to work with them where they're doing the majority of the research because they have them all right there on site. And then with the portion of the money that Aimpoint was getting, we were putting that money back into the program by hiring UTEP students. So giving young students an opportunity to be a part of a small business, to understand how that works, and to still be doing research that is certainly notable and towards a greater cause. It's that relationship with Aimpoint. So now we'll talk about Texas Space. So soon after that, one of my partners and I said, there's this space thing going on in Texas. Governor Abbott last year earmarked $350 million for industry to bring space to Texas. So immediately they carved off about $200 million and gave it to Texas A&M to build I want to say it's a Mars/moon lunar landscape, indoor. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be absolutely something that's absolutely needed for the mission. And then the other 150, they said, okay, world, okay, Texas, figure out how we can use that. And so they've started parsing off grants, do that. And we looked around and said, there's opportunity here to help bring space, specifically West Texas. When you think of space in Texas, most people think of the I-35 corridor. They're looking at Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. And why wouldn't you? That's where all the money is. That's where all the innovation really seems driving.
I mean, I think it's in the popular lexicon, Houston.
That's right. At Houston, we have a problem. Well, Houston, we do have a problem in that we're not looking far enough west in Texas. And that's where Texas Space Coalition was born. We said, we think there's an opportunity. So we planted our flag in El Paso in September of 24 with the mission to bring space to West Texas. And when we first started out there, we had some fairly influential people and high-ranking and understand not only the space and space of El Paso, the business side of it, said, we're not going to launch rockets from El Paso, and why El Paso, and kind of cornered us and say, what are you thinking? Explain to us, why you think that El Paso is where it's at. And the answer was simple. We looked at the I-35 corridor and we said, there's a whole bunch of nonprofits there that are doing similar work to what we want to do. And I'll get into the specifics of what that is. But we looked at the I-35 corridor and said, there's no way we're going to move the needle there. We'll be just another company trying to do nonprofit stuff in space. But out here in West Texas and starting in El Paso, we have an opportunity to really make an impact. We can impact the community. We've got just an unbelievable amount of research and brilliance that's coming out of UTEP and out of UT Basin, Midland College, El Paso Community College. All of these great minds that are graduating, and in the case of UTEP, Dr. Welsh would pull us aside and said, it breaks my heart. I watch my aerospace engineers come across the stage, collect their PhD diploma, get in their cars, and then they drive off to El Segundo or they drive off to Houston. Why? Because there's no place for them to apply that craft in El Paso.
Yeah.
They don't leave because they want to. They leave because they have to.
Yeah.
They're passionate about what they learn. They just spent all these years learning to become aerospace engineers, and they can't stay home and do it, but they want to. And so it's not the brain drain from El Paso and from West Texas. And UTPB, we see the same thing here. It's not just a brain drain, it's a heart drain.
Yeah.
These are kids or young adults who want to stay home. They grew up in West, and they want to stay here.
Yeah.
But they don't feel like they can.
Right.
Because they haven't really, because space hasn't truly come to them yet.
Yeah.
And so we see this as an opportunity to help grow awareness for what is available in West Texas specifically, and what's in the space community.
The BAMBiz Talk podcast is brought to you by Power Funding Limited, the leader in cash flow solutions for growing businesses. If your business is waiting 30, 60, even 90 days to get paid, but your expenses can't wait, Power Funding Ltd. has the solution. They specialize in invoice factoring, helping you turn unpaid invoices into immediate working capital. That means same-day funding, no startup fees, and access to up to 98% of your invoice value so you can keep your operations moving without delay. From trucking and oil field services to staffing and manufacturing, Power Funding supports businesses across industries with fast, flexible funding designed for real growth. And the best part, it's not alone. It's your money, just faster. Stop letting slow payments control your business. Take control of your cash flow today. Visit powerfundingltd.com or call 432-235-3167 to get started. Power Funding Limited, giving you the power to grow.
This episode of BAMBiz Talk is brought to you by Flash Mobile. Whether you're managing your business, chasing your dreams, or just handling life on the go, Flash Mobile gives you nationwide for GLTE coverage. No contracts and total freedom, all at a price that makes sense. Activate your plan in minutes. Bring your own device. Stay in control wherever life takes you. Contact us and make the switch today. And now let's get back to today's show.
And we can be talking about space or space communities. And since we're talking about El Paso, let me give you a couple of examples of companies that were working in space adjacent and didn't really know about it. So a company, M3 Aerospace, it's a small company, a precision engineering company doing precision cutting using CNC machines.
Okay.
So the story there is great.
Yeah.
The founder started it in Juarez across the border, had a couple of old CNC machines that, to my understanding, weren't even working. So he drug them across the border to El Paso, figured out how to spruce them up, get them working, bootstrapped himself into running a business. And then lo and behold, he's running a CNC machining business and pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
Well, then his son Sebastian graduates from Stanford, comes home and says, "Dad, let me help."
Yeah.
So now they're a booming business in El Paso. They've got, I believe, 8 industrial CNC machine doing great work. And in fact, they're cutting panels for satellites. So here's a business that never intended on being in the space business, space adjacent, and now with just a little bit of tweaking, there's an understanding now. And when you look at the manufacturing in El Paso, there's a ton of it there.
Yeah.
There's auto parts, and that's the sort of thing. It's the requirement, the precision that's required to do auto parts and other type of precision machining that's also needed in the space community.
Yeah.
And so it's not a heavy lift to pivot to be able to get into the space business and to the space industry.
Yeah, because what you described there, so they're using the same resources, same equipment.
That's right.
maybe even the same manpower, right? They would maybe not even have to upgrade too much, or
That's right. They already have the expertise. It's how they're applying it.
Yeah.
And as I talk to folks locally in Midland that are in the oil industry, I mean, we look, and I don't want to bounce too much all over the map here, but we look at space as being the perfect counterbalance to oil and gas in Midland specifically.
Yeah.
When crude is $120 a barrel like it is right now, things are great.
Yeah.
And nobody's too concerned.
Yeah.
In fact, they're looking for places to spend their money.
Right.
But when it's $50 a barrel,
Yeah.
everybody's worried.
It's getting tight. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just the guys that are working out on the pad and working on in the sites. I mean, the companies themselves are concerned because they're going to have to start laying people off potentially.
Right.
And so we think that if we can focus the industry on the space adjacent aspect of it, that'll serve as a counterbalance. Because a lot of the technology and the technological wherewithal that's required to do some of the precision mining and drilling that we do in the oil and gas side,
Yeah.
that same skill set, that engineering, absolutely applies to what we're trying to do in space.
Yeah. I think that and very, very, very true that, it's funny. I was thinking of it. So oil, right? Well, we have to go on inner space, kind of, we could go, to the unknown, the unseen. Right.
Yep.
And I think so this place here is what I'm trying to get at is it does have that spirit, right? It does. Okay, well, why not?
Sure.
We have the infrastructure, we have the actual space.
West Texas has an abundance of space.
And it just makes sense on so many levels, right? Yeah. I was talking. I did a podcast a few years ago at an event, in the middle of an event, and it was a panel, and one of them was former Mayor Jerry, right? Jerry Morales, and he was saying he was mayor when that initiated the space just coming to West Texas to begin with, and he was so excited that had come up, and then that's exactly what he was saying. This area is a perfect storm to bring the space industry to, right? Because yes, this area has been oil and gas. That's the only reason that we're here. Sure. There's oil and gas, right?
And it's important.
Very important to the world.
Absolutely.
Right. We have a responsibility here because we're here, right? But it has been known as it's a one-horse town, right? But because there's compete with that.
Yeah.
It could just the location itself is a problem. Right? How many, how many, big, huge projects can you bring to the area when we're already limited in resources? Like, okay, that's, but what other industry is out there that you could possibly come and not just fit and, survive next to it, but can actually help it, it can feed off each other and grow exponentially in itself.
Sure.
To diversify the area. Right. So, just to be clear, 10, 15 years ago, you said that word diversify. Oh, man, you're going to get some rocks thrown at you. But I think now that I think it's part of the culture that's coming here. Right. Yes, we're innovators. We're wildcatters. We're out. We want to strike, take a swing. Right. Whatever it is, let's take a strike at unseen, blazers. Right. So to speak. So I think now you know what? We do have room, and I think it is smart for us to diversify and bring another industry that can really, like you were saying, when it's good, but when it's not, it's not, And I think we really kind of narrowed that gap, the wave.
Yeah,
we steadied it out some. Now, not as bad as it used to be, but there are still ups and dips. What else can we do to kind of streamline that, and I think space is probably a good answer.
Yeah, I think so. And you talk about it being a one-horse town, and I think a wise man once told me that it's okay to be a one-horse town, but wouldn't it be to have a second horse to help shoulder some of that burden? And so when that first horse grows a little bit tired, needs to slow to take a little sip of water, we got another one that can help shoulder that. Right. So many hands make light work.
Yes.
And I agree. I think space is absolutely the industry that will help do that. Again, I can tell you that El Paso, both the county judge, Samaniego, and the mayor there, Renard Johnson, both of them ran on space and aeros as one of their pillars because they recognize the import of that. And I had the pleasure of speaking with Midland's mayor today, Lori Long, and she absolutely gets it.
Oh, yeah.
She understands that, and what a blessing she is to have at the helm of Midland right now. I think she's got a great vision, and she's doing wonderful things for the community, and I'm excited to see how Midland is going to continue to move forward at the pace at which she's setting, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's go time.
It's absolutely.
For sure. In what you were talking about earlier, the reason it fits so well is, one, a lot of the is skill sets, labor force, right? It's here, right? But then as far as small businesses, space adjacent, and that's exactly the same terminology we use in the oil industry, right? It's oil adjacent. Right, are you a service company? You service the oil field, or how
it resonates, right? Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think that there's, and we're excited. That's part of the reason why we're here in Midland. We're excited for the engineering aspect, especially. But there's 1,100 nonprofits.
Oh yeah.
In Midland, which is amazing to me. But what that really speaks to is the giving nature of the community here, and that's what we want to be a part of. We want to be a part of a community that is interested in giving back. That's just a baby, and they have a month-long food train of food coming in to take care of the family that just had the baby.
Yeah.
That's the type of community that will absolutely persevere. The mayor spoke this morning at the state of Midland talking about grit and how important that is as part of her family, but how really it resonates within Midland. Midland's had some tough times. Back in the 80s when oil was negative, those were some tough times, and yet Midland's still here. Midland knows how to do this, and how much easier might it have been if they had had a second horse to help pull and shoulder some of that weight, and so that's why we're excited about this, and the reception we've gotten to this point has just been amazing. The people of Texas are incredible. They're kind, they're warm, they're welcoming, and they get it. They're warm and welcoming, yet they're wildcatters, and so they know how to get after things. And when you start talking about things that are tough, things that need a little bit of elbow grease in order to get it done, this is the place to be. Because these people understand.
It is that underlying work ethic, and it's. I think it comes from an understanding of, it can get, things aren't always rainbows, and it's things.
Anybody who's run a business, if they haven't encountered that, they will. I told you already, I'm running two small businesses simultaneously. Started them almost simultaneously, completely different fields. One government services contracting, and then one that's really a nonprofit focused on trying to bring space to the community. So let me talk. We're able to weather that storm, because I think that'll resonate with some of the listeners. When we brought Texas Space Coalition to life, the idea here was to bring academic, industry, and government who are involved in space, to bring them all together under one roof and to get them playing together and get them communicating and connecting. And why a nonprofit? Well, the government drives the requirements. And so they're not really interested in how the sausage is being made. They just want their sausage. And so they're not going to bring people together. They don't have to. Industry, not at all interested in bringing their competitors to the table and talk about the secret sauce. They don't want to do that. And so they can't be really compelled to do that. And academia, they're really more focused typically on research. And so they're not built for it. But yet they're the ones that are driving, along with industry, are driving that innovation that is allowing us to achieve what the government needs. So as a 501c3, we can come in and serve as that neutral arbiter. we can bring everybody to the table and say, okay, friends, we're all friends here. We're not telling secrets about one another. Instead, we're coming together as a community to try to figure out how to introduce space, West Texas, and how to introduce the communities of West Texas to the space economy.
Yeah.
We know what exists out on the I-35 corridor, but you already talked about the vast open spaces of Texas and the opportunities that exist out here.
Yeah.
In one of my lives, I was working for a national lab out at the Nevada National Security Sites. So where we were blowing our bombs way back when.
Right.
So, boy, you talk about having land that you can do anything on.
Well,
but that's government run, right?
Yeah.
So you come out here, and this is a lot of private owned and industry owned, and obviously the university and cities own their own portions. But there's still this willingness and this wildcatter approach to wanting to solve the hardest problems.
Yeah.
Space will continue to bring the hardest problems.
For sure. Yeah.
And now is the time for us as a nation, certainly, but as a community within West Texas to really get after that.
Yeah.
At Midland ISD, Jeff Horner, the executive director for that, I got an opportunity to sit down with him. And,
Good.
And what a great mind, and really wonderful things for Midland ISD. And he talked about having robotics classes down at the 3rd grade level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Angel, 3rd grade.
3rd grade, no.
We're introducing kids to robotics. And what are those robotics going to be used for? Not just in cleaning houses, but we're going to be putting them on the moon. We're going to be sending them to Mars and doing that work that humans can't do because it's a pretty harsh environment in space. And so these kids are the future that are growing and seeing it now. And so those are the ones that we want to captivate.
Yes.
Well, those are the ones that want to get interested in these opportunities that lay before them.
Yeah. No, I think it's much needed. I think it's much needed to introduce kids as early as possible to, when they're young, you want them to have their imagination just open wide, and the constructive toys,
Erector sets.
Yes. To that nature.
Things we used to build with.
Yes, all the time.
Anything
right?
that's not associated with an iPhone or a cell phone, right?
Yeah,
just
has a screen. No.
If we can just get kids focused on working with their hands and using their minds,
yes,
and
solving problems.
And a great credit to again Midland ISD. We see the same thing in El Paso. They're really focused on a curricula that is driving our kids to succeed.
Yeah.
In fact, in El Paso, they have something called the Fab Lab.
Yeah.
And it's high schoolers that are really involved at the college level and are getting their hands dirty and to participate at the highest level and to start doing some of that dual enrollment opportunities. And talking with Midland College President Damon Kennedy recently, we talked about that the dual enrollment opportunities that exist for kids at the high school level so that they can start getting their hands dirty and that there are opportunities.
Yes.
And they don't have to go to a 4-year school in order to succeed.
Right.
Also, a former life of mine, I was involved in the submarine industry.
Oh, wow.
Where the Navy decided a few years back that they were going to build 3 submarines a year for the next 10 years. Well, that's a pretty impressive goal. Problem is, we haven't built a whole lot of submarines in the past few years, right?
Yeah.
And every single state has a part of one of those submarines. As you might imagine, when Congress gets involved, everybody wants to make sure that their state is represented. And so, who used to sew the snaps on the curtains, who lives up in Maine, probably isn't around anymore. And frankly, do that business, right?
Yeah.
And we've advanced beyond the old arc welding to now laser, very precise welding that is required in order to meet the new specifications. What we learned in that industry is that we haven't been doing it for so long that we need to reintroduce our youth to this idea of trades.
Yeah.
Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs fame has started an association, Mike Rowe Works, I believe is what it's called, and I'm not being paid by Mike Rowe, But that's exactly what he's focused on, getting our young men and women focused on doing the trades again, because that is what is going to drive and continue to drive forward as a nation. And that absolutely applies to the space industry as well, right? And to innovation, and about putting the screens away and just being able to focus with our hands and understand, be able to think and think through problems. Thing I do with my friends when we'll be having a conversation back and forth, say, "Oh, what was the name of that thing? We can't think of it." And somebody will pull out their phone and we'll say, "No, we're going to fire some neurons here, and we're going to figure this out like we used to. And we're going to talk about it." And what that does is just drives us to talk more and to investigate. And sure enough, somebody will remember, right? Because we'll remember.
It'll click.
It's a muscle that we have to continue to.
I haven't used that one in a while.
That's right. And so it's
a great practice.
It is, and it's again kind of a silly aside, but it's something that we need to see more of. And we need to see more, and I do think we are getting that from our district. Certainly here in Midland and El Paso, we're seeing that, which is really exciting to us, because we see that as paramount to making sure that we're building the right foundation to build forward on.
I absolutely applaud that. And I sincerely, for a long time, like I said, I have a 20-year-old daughter. When she was coming of age, I was like, okay. Even before she was born, I was like, okay, I'm not sending her to school. I'm going to homeschool her, right?
God bless you.
I not for long.
It's hard work.
It's too much. It's just a lot. But I'm saying that I've always seen, our school system was created to create workers, right?
That's right.
It's all it was. It was the old Prussian, system that so long as you're smart enough to put your shoes and pants on in the morning and not to ask
That's
questions.
all we require.
Let's put you through the assembly line so you can twist some things and do what you're told, and then you go home and you come back next day and we're going to repeat it all over again. Verbatim, right?
Henry Ford thanks us.
Absolutely, he used it to perfection, But I think the cracks have been showing for a while, and we have an opportunity, with now we have a reason, like the pressure to reinvent or to restructure how we see education. It really does from an early age, right? We see all these problems out here in the world. Okay, well, they're still being impressed by everything they see, good or bad, right? And the way that we live, because I feel we got for so long, it's like, things are great.
That's right.
We
can't blame anybody but ourselves,
right?
Gen Xers are good at that, saying about how when I was young, I used to play in the street until the street lights came on. I thought today at the state of Midland, they're talking about, hey, our kids still play out in the street until street lights come on because of just such a great community that we have here in Midland, and how they use that as a draw to bring folks back into West Texas to say, hey, West Texas is a special place. And Midland is absolutely a special place. It's a great community. It's small and it's community focused, and everybody is here for their neighbor, and they get out and they know their neighbor. El Paso, one of the safest cities in the United States. It came out recently as number 2 on the U.S. News and Business for best large cities to live in, right behind cities.
Oh, wow.
And El Paso was there. It's like, this is amazing. El Paso gets it because it's a border city, and that's all people think about when they see that. What they don't understand or appreciate is just the value of the people there and the values of the people that are totally family oriented. It's a very safe city, a wonderful place to live. And again, another reason why we were happy to plant our flag there, because it's just such a showcase for wonderful opportunity.
For sure. El Paso, and very much so here in Midland. Because I used to live in El Paso many years, like you said, another lifetime. Very much salt of the earth people. And you see that here in Midland. And, I was going to say here in Midland that you will hear story after story of people that were, I was only going to be here for 5 years. I had my 5-year plan.
Right.
Or those who were from here, graduated and went off to college or left, just totally got out of here and find themselves coming back. And I was only supposed to come back for a year,
That's right.
But there's something about here
Yeah.
that okay, it feels like home. It feels okay. It might not be the most beautiful, epically, when people go somewhere like, oh, okay, I want this or that. I wanted that in my big city. And
If you want trees, go to right.
plenty of them there.
If you want community, come to West Texas.
Here. Yeah. But it have that pull, and I think for many reasons, but one of them is that there's real opportunity here.
Absolutely, yeah. And certainly here in Midland, oil and gas, dock, and it should be.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. Its importance,
Absolutely.
geographically, and
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
it is more than that. And Midland is more than just oil and gas.
Yes.
And you see it just bubbling on the surface. And there's so many entrepreneurs who recognize that they have a great idea and they want to make it happen.
Yes.
And they just haven't figured out how to take that step yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe what we're talking about here can maybe spark something, right? Because, like you said,
I hope so.
there's a lot of young kids who are like, okay, I want to own my business, right? Or maybe they're already out of school and they have a great job making good money, but bored out of their gourd.
Yeah.
Right? I have an idea. I think I can make it work. Now, with this new information that they're having of like, oh, space is coming. Okay. So then maybe I just don't have to think about oil and gas or just thinking about opening a restaurant or, this or that or, or a tire shop or whatever it may be, right? Space industry. What could I do in the space industry? Like maybe that's something that sparks their interest to get into.
Yeah, I hope so, because that's, as a small business owner, I know how scary it is.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to launch off on your own. And I had the thing of having many years of experience behind me to at least give me the feel for understanding what the landscape might look like.
Yeah.
Son of a small business owner who built houses in Washington State. So I got to watch my mom and dad run a business through some really tough times, Carter years when it was or higher rate. And I watched how they persevered. And so that's where I built my foundation, is understanding, okay, as bad as things might have been, they got through because they focused on what their values were and important to them. And that was, of course, taking care of the people that were working for them, being able to still care for the family, of course. And we all pitched in. I mean, it was definitely a family affair.
Yeah.
And it gave us the opportunity. So I would say to our entrepreneurs that are listening, it's going to be scary. And if you were thinking that because you saw some TikTok where somebody went viral and is making millions, that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's a shame on us for thinking that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's like winning the lottery. That's no way to win, because you don't appreciate it, not as much. And think that those that are putting in the time to building those business plans and starting to understand what it takes, don't rush. Get some help. Talk to folks like BAM Ventures, who is available to them to help work through and answer those tough questions that they're facing, and understand how important is it to have a CPA doing my taxes for me, or doing it's important. It's important. And you want to have somebody who knows what they're doing it for you. Unless that's what you do, unless you're unless that's what you're doing, then let professionals do professional things for you, so that you can focus on what drives your passion.
The BAM Biz Talk podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Pachuco's Restaurant. Craving authentic and eclectic cuisine in Midland? Well, Pachuco's has you covered. Located in downtown Midland at the ever-so-legendary and iconic historic building at 316 North Big Spring Street, Pachuco's blends rich and unique flavors in a conveniently pleasant and vibrant atmosphere. Enjoy the highest quality barbecue, savory tacos, burgers, and a variety of other mouth-watering dishes that reflect the spirit of a true Pachuco cuisine. Real, authentic, and just plain different. Check out their menu at www.pachucos432.com or call 432-218-8806 to inquire, or better yet, just show up and get your shine on at Pachucos, where heritage, exquisite taste, and hospitality come together for an unforgettable dining experience. Pachucos, Midland, Texas. Now back to the show. When I first started my business, I just jumped in. Mm-hmm. Right, not this one. Well, I did just jump into this one.
Well, it's yours, and congratulations! You made it. You made it over the 5-year hump, and that's important.
I appreciate that.
That's a huge milestone.
Thank
so
you.
Congrats
yes,
on that.
You know, but before I had 4 businesses of my own, and I just jumped 4 businesses, running them at the same time. I basically just created 4 jobs for myself.
Okay.
Right, because I had to be
sure.
You know, it was my time for dollars. You know, there was exact exchange there. It just I wasn't a W-2 anymore. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. But other than that, I had to be at 4 different places,
which is not cool.
Which is not cool.
And to be all 4 places at once.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You know, one of them was I was a hot shot driver for the oil field.
Okay.
Right. So that was very random time wise.
Sure.
You know, it could be long hours. You know, I went cross country, so there was a lot of 4 a.m. phone calls. I need you in Bakersfield, California. You know, all right, on my way, right? And then I was a mobile car detail wash. You know?
Okay.
And those 2 are my big money makers. Those are the ones that paid all the bills.
Okay.
You know,
and low overhead, easy to do.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Then I had lawn care.
Okay.
You know, but that one was simple. You know, I used to cut my grandmother's for free. And her friends started asking, well, can you cut mine? I was like, yes, ma'am. You know, so started upstairs.
Good for you.
And I've been in the music industry. I was a DJ, you know, but that was just weddings, quinceañeras, something on the weekends and whenever I could, just a little bit of extra cash.
And in a band before that.
And before then, I was in the
I won't spoil it for all your, because your entrepreneurs that come to your events, to your mixers, they need to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So we'll plant
a story,
that tickler story for them.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting story. But, you know, so I had all those foregoings, you know, but all those I had to literally get my time, and I wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. Truck Engine Blue. I call this my country song.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, so the Truck Engine Blue. A raw blue, and now I had to replace the whole thing. All right, okay, $12,000-$15,000 check. All right, well, while I'm figuring that out, I was like, okay, well, I'll just really focus on my mobile detail wash, right? Because I make pretty good money there too. But if I give all my time to it, I can make some cash. I can put, you know, starting to figure things out. Well, that gets stolen from the front of my house about 2 weeks later, right? Just when I'm thinking, okay, I can do this, right? I'm getting some momentum, got some more clients, and that's gone too. So wasn't gonna scale my landscaping, you know, and DJing. Come on, you know, that takes years to just get into and make real money, and I wasn't anywhere prepared for that. Plus, I'd have to upgrade my equipment. Not an option. So I basically, then the rest of my story, and then I get separated from my wife, and then my daughter's puppy gets ran over. So there's my country song.
That is your country song. Yeah, you've got them all.
Just check box, done, right? So I went to school.
Okay.
Back to school.
Okay.
Right? Because I had tons of hours, just no, I hadn't gotten a degree yet. I'd had associates, but I hadn't had what I originally embarked on my, you know, college mission for was to get that degree, you know. But I'd been in engineering, had been in physics, had been in chemistry, I was actually in English, you know, I was general studies for the longest time.
Okay.
I went back. I was going to get my history degree and teach high school. Like, all right. Well, I was tutoring Spanish-speaking kids in algebra at the local high school. Okay. And I was talking to the principal, and they were like, yeah, you know, we're going to have an opening come up. You know, you're graduating, so we'd love to have you on board. I was like, okay, yeah, great. Said that algebra class that you're helping with, they're going to need a teacher. I'm getting my history degree. Yeah, we know that doesn't matter. I was like, all right, that's no.
History of algebra.
I was like, I don't have a problem with algebra, but I wasn't getting my math degree to teach. You know, I was getting my history degree because I love history. If I'm going to teach anything, I got to teach something I really love. You know, so that I took that as an absolute red flag. Do not jump into the system. So next semester, I go to business. I changed my major to business. Probably add a good year on my graduation path, but it was worth it because that's where I met my business partner, Michael Crane. Yeah, and then from there,
All things happen for a reason.
all
right?
things happen for a reason. Absolutely, absolutely. So from meeting him to here has been a life trajectory pivot. From the day I met him. And my thing is like I want to make that kind of impact on somebody, on different people.
Give back, right?
Give back.
Put the ladder back down, brings you up behind.
Let's
you.
bring them.
Yeah, man. Well, you're doing that with BAM, aren't you? I mean,
that's
it
the
sure
mission.
feels like that. I mean,
Yes,
your
sir.
mixers are dedicated to that and getting people connected,
Yes, sir.
entrepreneurs, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. They need to know that they're not in this,
Yes.
and that we can learn from one another's pitfalls and the potholes that we spin along the way.
Yeah.
They need that, and that's where they're going to get it. A lot of folks, I think, aren't necessarily proud of those obstacles that they've had to overcome until you put them into that sort of where then it becomes, I don't want you to have to suffer like I did.
Yes.
Right.
That's
so they keep it to themselves until you put them into an environment where they can teach others and bond as a community. And that's what I think you do so well with, and it's fun to watch. I mean, people talk about it and about your mixers and how they're excited to be a part of those.
Oh, cool. That's great to hear. Yeah. That's where I met you. You came
That's
by.
right. I came to your mixers, and glad I did.
Absolutely.
Great opportunity, and again, great people in Midland.
For sure. And I think that's what makes it really it's a beautiful part about it. The people here, they come, it's always a great vibe. They're always, because the point of you said is connecting people, connecting different types of people, different industries, different businesses, because you never know who you're going to meet that's going to be your next job, your next.
That's right. That's right.
And where does that lead? Who knows?
Right.
But if there aren't these type of spaces that we can that intention, right? Because you can go out anywhere and, sometimes you meet somebody at the grocery store or this chance encounter, but a space with intention to do that. I feel that's very much what you're trying to do here with the coalition, the Space Coalition, to bring here to Midland is intention. Bring it with intention. And what can we literally, this is what we want to pull out of it.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because that is exactly what we're doing here. I talked about bringing leaders within the space community together under one roof, and a couple of ways in which we're accomplishing that. The first is what is in our Launch and Learns, which is a monthly webinar. We're not near as fancy as your webcast here, but so it's a webinar, a monthly webinar that we do every month. You try to shoot for the last or the first Tuesday of every month. No, it's last Tuesday. So normally we would have been doing it yesterday, but Sarah Harris from the corporation is our guest speaker. And so we're doing it next Tuesday so that we could incorporate her schedule in.
Nice.
And she's just another example. So she'll be there talking about what's going on in Midland and talking about space, certainly, and then just generally what's going on within the region so that people can start to put themselves and understand what's available to them. Then the second big product, I guess, if you can say that we provide, is the space technology ecosystem promotion, STEP. It started as STEP El Paso, and it's a conference held every year. We held our first one back in last time, where we had 60 different companies, 7 different government organizations, 7 different universities and colleges, all under one roof. We had 5 panels.
That was your first year?
That was our first year.
Great.
Yeah, we sold the place out.
Wow.
We sold out the El Paso Community Center.
Awesome.
It was perfect. It really exceeded expectations. We started the night before was a reception at the brand new Aerospace Center there at UTEP. So just a mingling opportunity with a bar set up for drinks and food, and then opportunity for people to tour the facility and understand what it is that they have, this gold mine, UTEP, and what El Paso is there. There's lots of folks that live in El Paso all their lives and have no idea.
Yeah, that's usually how it is.
And sure. And so they toured the facility, and what amazed them most was the fact that as they went from lab to lab, and we're talking about a 93,000 square foot facility with 29 individual labs, purpose built with all facing the inside. So as you walk from lab to lab, you can see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the drone lab, the 2-story indoor drone that they have, and maybe I have a part for one of my drones that needs to be that broke, I go where they're doing it manufacturing and say, hey, can you guys make me one of these widgets? Sure. So they do it. They make it overnight, and we're back up and then the next day, as opposed to having to send that part out to get it repaired.
Yeah.
And so it's purpose built to, and brilliant minds there put this together that forces people to collaborate and encourages the collaboration. So as we took folks on the tour that night before, the presentations weren't done by the professors, done by the students. And it's eye-watering work that these students doing, the that exists there, and frankly, I can't do it justice to talk about just how far along and how advanced the innovation is there. So it was an exciting time. And then the next day, we had a full-day event where we had 5 panels ranging everywhere from local governance. So we were talking to folks that are on the chamber and talking about what's happening locally within El Paso.
Yeah.
And then we talked about statewide governance, where we had State Senator Cesar Blanco, Representative Ordaz, and then Representative Hochman Vigil from New Mexico. They all sat on a panel and talked about space and what's going on at their level. And then we had a panel talking regionally, where Sarah Harris from Midland Development Corporation sat in with Aaron Hernandez from the Concho Valley Council of Governments down in San Angelo, and an El Paso representative, I believe that's Ricky Mora, head of the chamber there. And they talked about regionally what's happening within West Texas and how space is coming here. And then we had an industry panel where we had Blue Origin sat on the panel, Astroscale US. Astroscale US is a company we're very proud to talk about. They're a Colorado-based company. Actually, they're a Japanese company. They have a U.S. subsidiary that Astroscale US, headquartered in Colorado. Yeah. We happen to know the CEO, and he told us, "Hey, I'm looking to open an office in Texas." He's already doing $100 million worth of work in San Antonio at the Southwest Research Facility, Southwest Research Institute there, and so fully intended to go to San Antonio or Austin. Took a tour of those cities, and we said, "Hey, you need to come look at El Paso." I said, "El Paso, So he came and looked, and El Paso, just as you would expect, as I'm sure Midland would have, they rolled out the red carpet. They have this 30-foot sign in the airport. So as you get off the airplane, you come down the escalator, a big thing says, "Welcome Astroscale."
Oh, wow.
And we had city, county briefings to talk about what is happening in El Paso and what they can do for them. We work with Borderplex Alliance, which is really responsible for bringing companies in, and we handed them off and said, "Hey, here's a great opportunity for you," and really driving home the fact that West is an asset and in the space community in order to succeed. Low cost of living, that we already talked about, the brilliant minds that are crossing the threshold and grabbing their diplomas, as well as those that are coming out of places like Midland College or El Paso Community College, where they're getting their certificates and being able to apply them, at home.
Yeah.
And so we're really excited about that. There's another thing that we can't talk about just yet that we think is going to follow suit and do the same thing, because they recognize the value, certainly, of light manufacturing within El Paso, and that's just happened in the last year. And now that we're planting here in Midland, we want to see the same thing happen here, and that's why we've locked arms with the Midland Development Corporation, and really a shout out to Paris and Jay Palmer and And that team that has just done miraculous things within Midland. And if you look at all the things that are happening within Midland, it's hard to see a project that doesn't have their fingerprints on it, and it's all for good. Right. And they've done wonderful things to help us open doors, talk to the right people. Yeah. I came to your mixer because Surrey brought and said, hey, you need to come meet Angel, and you need to see what he's doing within the community. And so it's a great relationship. And so we've locked arms with them, and we're excited that we're going to do a Step Midland next year. Still finalizing the date, probably going to be late February, but we're going to do it down at the Bush Convention Center. And we're hoping to have 400 to 600 people that'll come in for that. And it's going to be more or less the exact same format, right? The night before we'll have a mixer, if you will, and maybe we host it at UTPB. We haven't figured that out yet, but we'll host it at friendly confines where people will come and be able to mix and enjoy and understand a little bit more about what that entity has to offer Midland.
For sure. And
then we'll be an event again at the convention center there, and we'll have panels again that'll be oriented towards Midland and towards West Texas, and shining the spotlight on what Midland has to offer. So again, introducing Midland to the space community, and introducing the space community perhaps more to Midland. Yeah, and the space community is coming here. AST is a great example. And Firehawk, which is aerospace, but still part of that community. Castellian and I'm missing another big one. But those three are certainly the foundation for bringing space and aerospace to Midland. And why not? For all the reasons we talked about, when you get into these wide open spaces, there's no reason not to. And when you talk about El Paso and Midland, a partnership there that exists. There's a high-speed aerospace corridor that exists between Midland and White Sands Missile Range. And so there's already that connectivity. There's I believe it was a Texas Space Commission study grant that was to El Paso County and Midland Development Corporation, or Midland writ large, forgive me for not knowing, but they did a study looking at bringing the two cities together as well. There's absolutely, as well as the vertical launch capability that we're starting to look at here in Midland, the Air and Spaceport, which is just up the road here. At the tail end of our November trip in El Paso, we got in a bus the next morning, drove up to Truth and Consequences, and saw the America, which is the first commercial-built spaceport, and got a tour out there and got to see all that they're building, and just an exciting opportunity that folks had. Again, they drive by it all the time, Truth and Consequences, and on their way to someplace else, right? And didn't even know that it existed there. No. A commercial-built spaceport, the Midland Air and Spaceport here in Midland is one of the few, which is type, I believe, 139, so it's married with the actual airport. So it makes it a very special and opportunistic entity for the industry to capitalize on. So I'd certainly send to reach out.
I didn't realize that about Truth or Consequences. Like you said, I pass by it.
You drive by it, and if you don't know it's there, because the spaceport is designed architecturally so that it looks like it's just a mound. And so when you drive by, you look at the roof of it, the top of it, and it just looks like a mound of dirt. And you get around the other side, and this big, beautiful facility, that's where Virgin Galactic is headquartered.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or where they do a lot of their testing out there. But there's a high-speed air corridor that is certainly out there and being used by the Starfighter team as well, I know. But the idea, I believe, was it's on hypersonic testing. And so it's, again, wide open spaces and an opportunity to capitalize on that.
Absolutely, because, it's loud.
It is loud.
It's loud. So when you get going that fast, going at such a low, you're not waiting, right? pretty low to the ground, you know, not skimming it, but you know, you're not in space. Right. So you need wide open side, you know. So another example of why El Paso and Midland is just right for that.
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, we already see, as an outsider, I see that he's talking and engaging, and I think that there's nothing that will come from that.
Well, good. Well, Matt, is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners for you?
And so this has been just a great experience. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity
Absolutely.
to talk a little bit about and to share with our young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs, for that matter. I certainly wasn't 20 when I started out.
Yeah.
But I hope that they will get something from this. So again, to learn more about Texas Space Coalition, go to txspacecoalition.org. And visit our website, which we're upgrading as we speak. So hoping to have it faster and funnier. But you can certainly grab all of the necessary data there. We're grateful for the opportunity. Sign up for our Launch and Learns and learn more about what we're doing in the community.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. It was a great conversation. Appreciate it. And, you know, as things progress, you know, and things start to happen, love to have you back.
Would love to
update us.
Next year at this time, we're hoping that things are really clicking, and certainly we'll have our first step Midland behind us, and so I would love to come back.
Awesome, Matt.
Thank you,
sir.
Enjoy.
All right, guys. We'll see you all next.